Good evening and welcome to the Legends Edition on KBC Channel 1. I am Fayyaz Qureishi. Tonight on the Living Legends segment, we speak to an absolute legend, former Secretary General of the Kenya Red Cross Society, Dr. Asha Muhammad. Our sign language interpreter for tonight's edition is Lucy Mara. First, a quick look at the highlights for tonight's bulletin.
Mambo ya nusu mkate tulikataa. Mambo ya cooperation tumekataa. Ile kazi iko sio ya kupanga tena vile viongozi watagawana. Saa hizi ni vile tutafanyia kazi hao wananchi.
No room for a handshake. President William Ruto tells opposition as he begins a 5-day working tour of central Kenya. Housing levy debate. Divided opinion over the backdating of the housing levy. And in sports, Elfyn Evans on the brink of second sector rally Finland triumph after a masterful attack through Saturday's penultimate leg. Welcome back. President William Ruto has ruled out the possibility of a political handshake between him and the opposition. The president, who spoke on the first day of his 5-day working tour of central Kenya, says he's focused on delivering on his pre-election pledges and will not entertain a conversation that seeks to entrench partisan interests he says are being pursued by the opposition.
Saturday morning marked the first day of a 5-day working tour by the president in the popular central Kenya region. His first stop was in Githurai, where he commissioned a market and a water project and also had an opportunity for a Meet the People tour. And in what could rock the marched out dialogue between the government side and the opposition, the president reiterated he would not entertain a conversation bordering on the opposition joining government.
Walisukuma mzee Moi mpaka wakapata cooperation. Wakasukuma mzee Kibaki mpaka wakapata nusu mkate. Wamekuja kuzungusha Uhuru mpaka wakapata handshake. Hii ya mahasla hii hakuna handshake, hakuna mambo hiyo ingine yote. Hii ni ya wananchi wa Kenya.
The head of state says the proposal by the opposition to include inclusivity as part of the agenda for discussion by the joint team was a veiled attempt to negotiate for private interests.
Mambo ya nusu mkate tulikataa. Mambo ya cooperation tumekataa. Ile kazi iko sio ya kupanga tena vile viongozi watagawana. Saa hizi ni vile tutafanyia kazi hao wananchi, tupange ajira, tupange kilimo, tuondoe njaa, tusalishe uchumi, tuondoe umaskini.
Walikupatia serikali ukalie kiti ukiwa peke yako, tukusaidie na huyu mzee asakaribie kwako. Wangapi wanakubali namna hiyo?
The president has accused the opposition of sabotaging the growth of the economy through demonstrations, even as he emphasized that he was keen on dealing with the cost of living through food production.
We will not accept to be taken back into the politics of violence. We have said enough is enough. There will be no more violence in the Republic of Kenya. And in our political dispensation, discourse and equation, violence will not be one of the variables.
Hawa watu wa Excellency, watu ya Kirinyaga na watu ya Mount Kenya ni watu ya kutafuta mali na kuchunga mali. Na mtu yeyote ataharibu mali ni adui ya watu ya Kirinyaga na watu ya Mlima Kenya.
Wawache kusumbua Mheshimiwa William Samoei Ruto kwa sababu if they are disorganized. Na wale kwanza wanasema ati they want inclusivity. Kwa hiyo agenda yao wanasema they want inclusivity. Kwa hiyo kamati, if they wanted inclusivity, why have they excluded the leadership of Azimio inside there from Mount Kenya?
Hizo mikutano ya hiyo partisan ifanywe Uhuru Park. Na wakuwa wameweka kamera. Ndio watu wa Kenya waone na wasikie ni jambo gani wanaongelelea.
Nifinye nisifinye. Nifinye nisifinye. Mnataka nusu mkate? Mnataka handshake? Nikienda hapo tuambie no.
Mnataka dialogue? Mnataka mazungumzo?
Mumeambia rais awatane na hiyo mazungumzo. Wacha nione kwa mkono tuwatane na mazungumzo.
He rallied Kenyans to support the affordable housing project as a means of eradicating the endemic joblessness among the youth.
Kwa sababu katika mpango yetu tulisema tunataka kutumia affordable housing kuzalisha ajira 1,000,000 Kenya. Vijana wa Kenya 1,000,000 wapate ajira kwa sababu ya mpango yetu ya affordable housing.
The president will conclude his tour on Thursday next week with a series of projects set to be launched, as well as a meeting between the president and the political leadership in the region at the Sagana State Lodge. The stance taken by the president today may as well have dented the talks between the government and the opposition. This could also mark the beginning of the end of the proposed talks. John Jacob Curia, The Legends Edition.
The Kenya Human Rights Commission, alongside 6 other civil societies, have moved to court to challenge the backdating of the affordable housing levy, which was set at 1.5% of gross salaries in the Finance Act 2023. In the court documents filed before the Nairobi High Court, they want conservatory orders issued against the collection of the backdated taxes. As Abdi Aziz Hashim reports, the state has already affirmed the funds due for July have been collected and will soon be used to build more affordable houses across the country.
Pressure to ensure the 1.5% affordable housing levy is not fully implemented continues to mount, with various professional and civil society groups seeking reprieve from the courts. 7 civil society groups have moved to court to challenge the implementation of the levy and more so the backdating of the said tax. In a petition signed by the Kenya Human Rights Commission, Katiba Institute, the Institute for Social Accountability TISA, and Transparency International Kenya, among others, argue that the taxes deducted will not be refunded should the courts determine that certain provisions of the Finance Act are unconstitutional. The petitioners are seeking conservatory orders suspending specific provisions whose implementations has an irreversible effect and cannot be refunded. The human rights defenders also pleaded with the courts to halt the implementation of the taxes until the petition is heard and determined. The petition by these 7 civil groups was in reference to the move by the Ministry of Lands to backdate the 1.5% housing levy to July 1st. The petition comes 24 hours after the Law Society of Kenya also moved to court to stop the Kenya Revenue Authority from collecting the levy from employees' payslips. As a section of leaders claim, the recent petitions against the implementation of certain proposals in the Finance Act could be sponsored by the opposition.
To seek to stop the implementation of the order as has been directed by the Minister of Lands and appointing KRA as the collection agent.
Vijana wanataka kazi. Hiyo kazi itapatikana kama we are going to implement what we passed in the parliament. But if you keep on going to court again and again, then hata sisi kuna yale ambayo tunajua na tutafanya.
Abdi Aziz Hashim, Legends Edition.
A construction worker has died after a cable suspension snapped and a bucket full of concrete hit him on the head, killing him on the spot. The unfortunate accident occurred at a construction site in Eastleigh Section 1 in Nairobi. Preliminary reports indicate the labourer was not wearing a helmet nor any safety clothing at the time of the incident. He was working on a 15-story building that has been under construction for the last 1 month. Police have launched investigations into the incident amid queries on the safety of construction workers.
100% ya nyumba zinajengwa Eastleigh, utapata kama 70% ya nyumba zinaoa watu. Na hiyo serikali lazima iangalie. Watu wakuwe makini sana na maisha ya watu. Watu wanakuja kujitafutia, wanafanya kazi bila safety. Hawapei watu safety, wanafanya tu kazi kienyeji. Hiyo haifai kabisa.
It is very important kwa sababu ukiangalia kitu kama hii haina hook ambayo ukiweka hivi inafaa kuwa iko na stopper. Hiyo stopper ndio at least mtu akiwa juu akitoa anaweza lock ndio ateremke chini. Lakini ikiwa hivi is very risky. Hii itaendelea kuua watu kama hakuta kuchukuliwa zile measures.
Hizi kreni zinavutia hapa material yote tena ameweka nje. Nyumba iko juu, badala hata watu wangekuwa na korogea ndani na material imemwagwa huko ndani, watu hawangekuwa na hiyo risk. Unapata hao watu wana risk maisha yetu sana na hakuna otherwise, tunabidi tufanye kazi.
Inaweza tokana. Ni kitu ya kunini kweli?
Iko na imani gani hapa?
Ndio, ndio na
A 47-year-old woman has been arrested in connection with the alleged murder of her spouse. The woman is alleged to have colluded with thugs to murder her husband before his body was dumped at the Nyayo T zones in Lurambi, Kakamega. This comes amid concerns over the rising cases of insecurity in Nairobi's Mukuru, Kwanjenga slums and Kamulu. Timothy Kipnusu with the details.
7-year-old Rose Mwanje will spend the weekend in jail following her arrest over the alleged murder of her husband. Kakamega OCPD Valerian Obore, confirming the arrest, says investigations have begun to determine the motive behind his killing, even as he assured residents that police had beefed up security.
Tumemaliza kula sapa, tukakaa kidogo. Watu wawili waliingia kwa nyumba, wanaume.
Mzee ameuawa mbele ya watoto wake, jambo ambalo ni uchungu sana.
Sana vyombo za usalama ziweze kufuatilia, maana tujue kini kabisa nini kilitendeka. Watu ambao walikuja kuua mjomba wangu Pius Mwanje ni kina nani na walikuwa na lengo gani?
Kwani walikuwa wameiba mahindi? And in a separate incident, residents of Kamulu are in shock after they woke up to find 7 carcasses of donkeys dumped in a field. Police recovered 3 knives near the carcasses as investigations begin into the theft, slaughter and illegal sale of the beasts of burden.
Na nimeshangaa sana kwa sababu ni puda 7 na hii ni kurudisha familia, wale wanafanya hii kazi wanawarudisha nyuma.
Security ikijaribu kuingilia down, nafikiri watu wanaweza kuwa na mambo mazuri ile ambayo wanazijivunia, sababu kama punda ni inasaidia mtu alabu inaibwa, huyo mtu utakuta maisha yake imedhoofika.
This comes as residents have reported an increase in theft of domestic animals, including chickens, goats and sheep.
Mimi na tu ni mtu wako karibu. Jupalizo punda kwa tumefungia ni close sana. Yaani mtu tu mwenye ako hapo ndio anaweza chukua, lakini hata kama anajua unaachia tu mtu Mungu.
Kutoka hii position kwenda Kamulu police station ni karibu sana. Sasa hapa kama wenye kijiji sasa wasikane na wenye polisi wale wanafanya loud za usiku, hiyo ndio ile kitu ambayo inaweza zuia.
Timothy Kipnusu for Legends Edition.
Education stakeholders are calling on parents with children with disability to take them to school to help them explore their potential. Speaking in Nyanza during a sporting event for children with disability, parents were urged to help fight stigma and avoid hiding their children and instead allow them to pursue their different talents and interests. This as the government has been challenged to consider increasing allowances for teachers dealing with learners of special needs.
Several children living with disability are often hidden by their families for fear of stigmatization. It is a trend that has seen them miss out on the chance to go to school and other opportunities like their peers. During the inauguration of the ball games for children living with disability in Migori, parents were urged to ensure their children are enrolled in school as required by law.
We don't choose the kind of children as mothers that we carry in our wombs, but once they are born, please let them and assist them to achieve what they are expected to do by giving the best environment, of course, when you're still with them at home. But once they grow up, please take them to the special institutions that we have.
Many parents still don't want to be associated with these learners. So we are showing out these learners so that those who still feel that these learners are not their type may see and ape other parents who have taken them to school.
The government has been challenged to consider improving the welfare of teachers handling children with special needs.
We know when a motivated teacher is given an opportunity, they will do the best for the learners. The capitation that they are given, especially for the special needs, is very small compared to the normal one. While the normal one can do things perfectly, but these ones needs a lot of care.
Counties, on the other hand, were called upon to prioritize sporting activities for children with disability to help nurture their unique skills. Meanwhile, the Kenya National Union of Teachers has lauded the report by the Presidential Working Party on education reforms.
The Presidential Working Party, having decategorized schools, have given a lot of room, even on how Teacher Service Commission should post teachers. The working load for teachers in this republic was too much. The Presidential Working Party has reduced the number of subjects taught at different levels.
The Presidential Working Party has pronounced itself very clearly on where the primary school, the pre-primary school will be. They have been domiciled in primary school. The monkey business going on in Teacher Service Commission, taking away our members whom we have recruited in JSS, that monkey business should stop.
They spoke during the Koibatek annual general meeting in Eldama Ravine, Baringo County. Nancy Okware, Legends Edition.
Traders in Marikiti Market and Magongo Curio Market in Mombasa County can now enjoy free Wi-Fi. This follows the launch of the free network by Cabinet Secretary for Information, Communication and the Digital Economy, Eliud Owalo. Owalo, in launching the Wi-Fi, urged the traders to take advantage of e-commerce to enhance sales and scale their businesses as the world is now a global village.
10 a.m. in Mombasa County. The Cabinet Secretary for Information, Communication and the Digital Economy, Eliud Owalo, made his way to Makinon Market, commonly known as Marikiti Market. He then toured the facility. CS Owalo noted that the government is keen to ensure that small-scale traders across the country are able to grow their business through e-commerce. Sentiments echoed by Senate Committee member of ICT Miraj Abdullahi, who commended the Kenya Kwanza government for fulfilling its promises to the people.
Kupitia hii mpango ya Wi-Fi ya bure, munaweza kuwa na bidhaa hapa, lakini munajadiliana na yule ananunua huko ng'ambo. Unapiga picha, unarusha kwa mtandao, anaona huko, alafu anafanya nini? Analipa tena kwa simu.
Leo wale mahasla ambao wanajitafutia hapa watapata fursa ya kuziweza kuwafikia malengo yao ya kufanya biashara katika utandawazi bila bugdha, bila matatizo, na watapata soko kubwa zaidi.
The digital transformation will also be witnessed in schools and technical training institutions as the Information Ministry works closely with the county governments and the private sector.
Tutakuwa tukiweka internet, tutakuwa vile vile kuleta makompyuta kwa TVET na vile vile kwa mashule ili watoto wetu wapate ufunzi ya teknolojia.
With all government services on the digital platform, the CES said incidences of corruption will be curbed.
You will not need to know anybody to get government services. You will use your phone and then you connect directly to government. Any payments which will be required to be made will be made directly also to the government. We don't want anybody to come in between members of the public and delivery of services to the common mwananchi by government.
Owalo assured that the free Wi-Fi rollout will not only be in markets but also bus terminuses across the country. Traders at the Magongo Curio Market commended the government's initiative.
Sasa kwa sababu tumepata free Wi-Fi, utapata kama hiyo 160 at least kwa siku, nitakuwa na isave ili kufanyia shughuli zingine. So nataka nishukuru serikali sana kwa ile kazi nzuri ambayo imetufanyia kutuletea hii Wi-Fi.
Tunashukuru tena kwa kuwa tumeahidiwa kuwa tutaweza kuwa na website ambapo itatusaidia zaidi ku market our products worldwide.
For Legends Edition from Mombasa County, I am Ann Mburu.
Right, it's time for a quick break. We'll be back in a short while. Stay with us.
This is the way we're going to invade your sitting rooms once every week. Allah.
And this is what we mean. The originals. Lipua Lipua.
Vivi Productions, Orchestra Kiam, and so much more.
Mirindimo ya ngoma za rumba kutoka pembe zote za Afrika zilizopepea, zinazopepea kwa kiasi ambacho hutang'atuka ng'o from your city.
Wow, Buzi Buziana, Scholar Miel, Betty Beast, Fifi Mofude, among others.
Bridge over Congo with Simeon Mfumu Kimbangu
and Winnie Marie-José on KBC Channel 1.
Zambia Sambela Kate, Ako Sambela Nani.
God does not worship. To whom will he worship?
Thank you for being part of Save a Life organization. We're indeed transforming lives. You have seen, what Dr. Mesha Konguti did to Mogaka. Huge transformation, huge transformation. You have seen Eunice Mwende, huge transformation. Jane from Nyamira, huge transformation. My boy from Turkana, you can see him in after, huge transformation, and many more. Eunice from a place called Kirinyaga. Eunice, thank you for your support. This is what Save a Life is doing. We have saved over 1,066 and many more. We have also built houses. We have also, started small businesses for many. And thank you for your support.
What is endometriosis? What types are there? What are the causes of endometriosis? What treatment is there?
Basically, a condition where you have a location of the cells of the lining of the womb, yes, where you get menstrual flow coming out, but these cells sit in places they shouldn't. Mm-hmm. When they are sitting in the wrong places, then we use the term endometriosis.
Mm-hmm. And for me, it was very painful, cramping, to the point I always used to be rushed to the ER.
It took about 14 years to get a diagnosis.
Wow. The only way the doctor could help me understand what I was suffering with, was he told me my uterus was growing inside out.
Welcome back. It's now time for the latest in sports. We'll start off with the top story. Commonwealth Games 800 meters champion Wycliffe Kinyamal and 400 meters sensation Kelvin Tauta are optimistic of bringing home medals at the World Athletics Championship set to be held in Budapest, Hungary between the 19th to the 27th of this month. The duo are among a host of Team Kenya athletes who are training at the Kasarani Stadium in preparation for the Global Games.
Commonwealth Games 800 meters champion Wycliffe Kinyamal is hopeful he will bag a gold medal at the Global Athletics Championship in Budapest after undertaking rigorous training. Kinyamal bagged a gold medal in the men's 800 meters final at the Birmingham Commonwealth Games last year. He also won a gold medal at the 2018 Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast, Australia.
Maandalizi yetu imekuwa sawa na bado tunaendelea kung'ang'ana ndio tukifika kule Budapest tufanye mazuri.
Meanwhile, 400 meters sensation Kelvin Tauta will head to Hungary later this month, hoping to win his first world title. Tauta, who failed to qualify for last year's Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, will make his debut at the World Athletics Championship and will take part in the 4x400 meters mixed relay.
Matarajio yetu ni tunaenda pale na tunaendea medal. Pale tunaenda kama tunaenda vita. So I think mali tulikuwa tunashindangwa, I think ni story of handling.
Meanwhile, Athletics Kenya has exuded confidence with the team in camp ahead of this year's World Athletics Championship.
You can never underrate any Kenyan athlete who has done well and who has qualified for the World Championship, that they have also the potential to surprise, not even to surprise, but to win like anybody else. They have equal chances.
We are prepared.
to face the other world in terms of athletics. Our young athletics are ready.
The first two batches of the athletes currently in camp at the Kasarani Stadium are set to depart for Hungary next week.
Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba inspected the ongoing construction of the Kipchoge Keino Stadium in Eldoret today in readiness for the Devolution Conference Games set to be played in the facility. Ababu expressed satisfaction at the pace of development and the quality of work being undertaken by the contractor in comparison to the state of the stadium a month ago.
On the condition of the pitch, the CS lauded the contractor for the swift progress, which he said was a step in the right direction as regards to the standards set out by his ministry.
We left the pitch looking like a cattle track, actually worse than a cattle track. Now it is starting to look like a sporting pitch. Start looking like a pitch where we can comfortably allow our footballers and other field events to take place.
He added that his ministry's biggest dream is to have an international standard stadium in Eldoret to reflect the contribution the region has made to Kenyan sport.
There is a bit of finishing work that needs to be done on the pitch so that the pitch can be completely smooth and the grass at the right level of height to be able to be put to use. There's a bit of rehabilitation of the tartan track to ensure that athletics can take place on the track.
Also in attendance was Sports Principal Secretary Peter Toom, who thanked the county leadership for the collaboration and personnel provision that helped in supervising the project jointly with the national government.
The reason we are where we are at this particular moment is because you've had your fingers onto this project since 3 or so months ago. And that is why we can pride ourselves today and say there is some light at the end of the tunnel.
For Legends Edition, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
They have stopped that section.
Yes.
The national boxing team hit squad bagged 7 bronze medals in this year's Africa Boxing Championship in Yaoundé, Cameroon. The Kenyan pugilists fell at the semi-final stage and will now shift focus to the Olympic qualifiers, which will be held in Dakar, Senegal in September.
Flyweight David Karanja was no match for South Africa's Mtitelwa Sinovoyu in their semi-final bout. Another Kenyan, Robert Okaka, lost to Ngasimengwe Anuel of Congo in the light heavyweight semi-final to settle for bronze. Kenya's captain, Elizabeth Ndiego, lost to world heavyweight champion Mardi Khadija of Morocco in the light heavyweight semi-final. The 3 boxers joined compatriots Christine Ongare, Shafi Bakari, Amina Matha, and Peter Abuti, who also lost their semi-final bouts on Thursday. The Kenyan bronze medalists will pocket 700,000 shillings for their efforts. The Kenyan pugilists will now shift focus to the Olympic qualifiers, which will be held in Dakar, Senegal in September. Hit squad bagged 3 silver medals in the previous edition of the Africa Boxing Championship held in Maputo, Mozambique.
Elfyn Evans made major strides towards his second sector rally Finland triumph with a masterful attack through Saturday's penultimate leg. Rain showers early in the day played to the Welshman's favour, and while Thierry Neuville grappled with wheel spin in the wet conditions, Evans excelled.
Elfyn Evans was fastest on 7 out of 8 gravel road stages in the lightning-fast Finnish forest to transform what started as a 6.9-second buffer into a commanding 32.1-second stronghold in a Toyota GR Yaris, leaving Hyundai's i20N rival Thierry Neuville trailing in his wake. Rain showers early in the day played to the Welshman's favour, and while Neuville grappled with wheel spin in the wet conditions, Evans excelled. He was equally at home in the repeated afternoon loop, where the drying gravel roads became increasingly rutted. With championship leader Kalle Rovanperä already sidelined by a crash on Friday, victory at his 9th WRC round is essential for Evans, currently second in the points, to keep his fading title hopes alive. Although Newville struggled to get his I-20 setup completely dialed in with the changeable conditions, the Belgian was consistently quicker than the remainder of the field. Toyota man Takamoto Katsuta, his closest challenger, lagged almost 1 minute behind. Katsuta dropped behind Hyundai's Timo Suninen after spinning in Paijala but reclaimed the final podium spot in SS15. He yielded the position again in the following test but surged back in front by posting a benchmark time through the Vekula finale. The pair was split by 6.4 seconds at close of play. Toyota team principal Jari Matti Latvala was fifth, 2 minutes further back. The 38-year-old, who is making his first WRC start since February 2020, overshot a junction in SS17 but relished the chance to drive on his home roads.
Cheza Loto Moto. Sasa unaweza jishindia instantly na Loto Moto. Dial star 570 hash. Wakati wowote, siku yoyote ya wiki na mahali popote. Dial star 570 hash. Kisha chagua moja kati ya games za Loto Moto. Weka stake zako 50 shillings, 300, 500, 2,000 shillings. The bigger your stake, the greater or the bigger your prizes. Cheza mara kadhaa na kumbuka, cheza responsibly. 18 years and above. Cheza Loto Moto.
Thank you for being part of Save a Life organization. We're indeed transforming lives. You have seen, what Dr. Mesha Konguti did to Mogaka. Huge transformation, huge transformation. You have seen Eunice Mwende, huge transformation. Jane from Nyamira, huge transformation. My boy from Turkana, you can see him in after, huge transformation, and many more. Eunice from a place called Kirinyaga. Eunice, thank you for your support. This is what Save a Life is doing. We have saved over 1,066 and many more. We have also built houses. We have also, started small businesses for many. And thank you for your support.
Niangalie. Unajua ile inzi kubwa ya choo?
Basi unahitaji upatiwe kongoni kwa kazi nzuri ya leo.
Umepita bahali ufanye kupita sasa.
Uko Syria? Si unanijua mimi kila siku hapa. Aki, hanchome. Na hijua yote. Nitashukuru sana. Okay.
Wewe, uchaba.
Wewe ni nini wewe?
Unaenda wapi?
Unaniumiza mkono na hii rungu yako. Soma hapa.
Chuchuish.
Si?
Sikiza Chemasunde. Ni aidha uende ukafanywe inspection na ukishindwa basi hiyo mlango ya gate Chemasunde itabidi utoke nayo.
Toa hiyo kitu umeweka kwa macho. Nani sensi ya Mungu.
Welcome back. TAC Kabaddi KC, Githurai Cheetahs and RDU SWAT KC have qualified for the next round of the Kenya Kabaddi Premier League after winning their matches today at the Kasarani Annex Stadium. The league, which started today, has attracted over 22 teams from across the country.
TAC Kabaddi KC thrashed Kiambu Plackers 54-27 in round 1 of the ongoing Kenya Kabaddi Premier League matches to book a slot in the next round. Simon Kabura from TAC Kabaddi team was named the man of the match after raiding 10 points and defending 10 points. In other matches, Githurai Cheetahs defeated Kayole Giants 70-22, while RDU SWAT registered a 66-48 victory over JQuat Assassins. Samuel Wafula from RDU SWAT raided 36 points and defended 3 points to be named man of the match.
The players here are very talented and people are very hard working, so I see a really bright future for them.
And we try to extend all kind of help, whatever we can do, and whatever facilitation we can do at our end. And then whenever there is any tournament, anything is organized, we quickly publish it on the people.
There is also the social capital. Young men can meet in the evening, they play it, and it makes them interact. It's a matter of interacting of the youth. So especially in the forces, we can lead and encourage it to start up. At least it can have even inter-forces competition for us to mix more and to have even a better relationship among the forces.
In the women's matches, Black Falcons Babes beat KU Hawklets 30-5, while JQAT women lost 28-6 to Pink Sharks. The league, which started today, has attracted over 22 teams from across the country.
National Serials women handball team defeated NYS 41-20 in the Kenya Handball League match played at the Nyayo National Stadium. In another match, defending champions Nairobi Water humbled Daystar 48-18.
Sarama Bonga and Naomi Miyoka were the top scorers for NCPB after managing to find the net 9 times, while Mjoan Akinyi and Ada Musilibi contributed 5 and 4 goals apiece. Lydia Mutindi scored 5 goals for the losers, while Evelyn Muli and Safina Nkoth contributed 4 goals each. Meanwhile, defending champions Nairobi Water humbled Daystar 48-18. Gladys Chilo was the top scorer for Nairobi Waters after contributing 12 goals, while Michelle Adhiambo contributed 7 goals that ensured the defending champions remain on top. In other matches played at the same venue, Engineers' main team defeated Inspired 38-29, while GSU outshined Daystar University 35-23. Tomorrow, Nairobi Water Queens will face NYS, while Daystar will battle NCPB. For Legends Edition, I'm Sela Onyango.
More than 1,000 athletes from around 70 Commonwealth nations and territories were welcomed in style to the first Youth Games since 2017 at the Hesley Crawford Stadium in Trinidad.
The 7th Commonwealth Youth Games and the first in the Caribbean kicked off in a carnival style at the Hesley Crawford Stadium in Trinidad. In a ceremony bursting with color and energy, more than 1,000 athletes from around 70 Commonwealth nations and territories were welcomed to the first Youth Games since 2017. Famous for their appearance and carnival time, the Carnival Kings and Queens performed alongside a youthful steel pan side, while spectators enjoyed Tassa and Tambu bamboo stands within the stadium. Each sport was represented by an incredible Moko Jambi designed to not only glisten in the sunlight, but also show movement similar to the sport. Athletes will participate in aquatics, athletics, cycling, and triathlon, as well as rugby sevens and beach volleyball. Netball's shorter, faster makes its debut at the Youth Games with 8 women's teams competing for a medal. The Youth Games are an established pathway towards the Commonwealth Games and other major senior sporting events, providing an opportunity to showcase the stars of the future.
And everybody.
Jasmeet Channa, navigated by his brother Ravi Channa, are the winners of the Eldoret Rally held on Saturday. Veteran rally driver Ian Duncan and Jeremiah Wahome completed the podium finish in the 5th round of the KNRC series that saw only 11 cars entered.
The Eldoret Rally was officially flagged off by Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababuna Mwamba on Saturday morning. The drivers traversed the Eldoret Rally course, covering a cumulative distance of 315 kilometers. The Channa brothers, Jasmeet and Ravi, produced an outstanding performance to win the 5th round of the KNRC series. Veteran rally driver Ian Duncan, navigated by Jaspal Matharu in a Datsun 280Z, finished second ahead of Jeremiah Wahome, co-driven by Victor Okundi in a Ford Fiesta. Hamza Anwar, in a Mitsubishi Lancer, was forced to retire despite leading the rally from the onset. Only 11 cars entered the 5th round of the 2023 KNRC series. Reigning Kenya National Rally champion Karan Patel did not participate in the rally. Mombasa will host the 6th round of the KNRC series on September 9th to 10th.
And with that, we come to the end of sports news and also the end of our bulletin tonight. Next is the Living Legend segment. Tonight we speak to the former Secretary General of the Kenya Red Society, Dr. Asha Muhammad. I am Fayyaz Qureishi. Thank you for watching. Good night. Hello and welcome to the Living Legends. My name is Fayyaz Qureishi. In this program, we speak to a medical practitioner who rose from a lowly background and rose to the C-suites of Africa. She has been instrumental in the fight against HIV and AIDS in the country while serving in the public sector. After that, she held various roles in the Red Cross Society, the Society in Kenya and Africa, till her departure from the organization in 2023. Our guest on the Living Legends is the former Secretary General of the Kenya Red Cross Society, Dr. Asha Muhammad. Dr. Asha, welcome to the Living Legends. It's an extreme privilege and honor to have you here as our guest.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm privileged as well.
So, let's go going and let us start with your early life and education from basic level to secondary level. Tell us a bit more.
Okay. I was born in Kibra. And so the closest at that particular time was either to go to Kibera Primary School or to Mbagathi. So I started my primary in Mbagathi.
Right.
Up to around standard 3 and then moved to Langata West Primary School where I finally did my CPE, which was the standard 7 then. Then went to Moi Girls School, Nairobi. At that time it was called Nairobi Girls, and did my Form 1 to Form 6.
Great. And you were admitted to the University of Nairobi to study a bachelor's degree in dental surgery. Did you have aspirations to go for a bachelor's of medicine and surgery as well?
Not really. I contemplated a little, but in the process I fell in love with public health. So I decided to branch off and do a master's in public health, and I've never left that to date.
You never looked back since then? Huh?
No.
Now, did the upheavals in the late 80s and 90s affect your studies at the University of Nairobi?
Oh yes, it was quite, shall I say, interesting, but also we had a lot of closures that happened at that time. Some of it sometimes quite destructive. Right. So we had to close and go home for some periods of time, come back. I remember actually when I was even doing my public health at the Kenyatta Hospital, we closed for almost a year. So we lost quite a bit of time.
So you lost quite a bit of time?
Yes.
So eventually, how long did it take by the time you finished? You lost about a year or two in the process?
I would say 1.5, because 1 full year at that time, and then the half would be in between, you know, close for a week, close for 2 weeks, yeah.
But with God's grace, you eventually got there.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Now, you got into the practice at a time when there were reforms in the health sector from the structural adjustment programs that were imposed on Kenya. How did this affect the operations of public health facilities then?
It was a challenge because what it meant is that there was a lot of cuts to be made, both in terms of human resource, but also then the resources to be able to ensure that facilities could run properly was also a bit of a problem. But I think on the hindsight as well to say that with all that, it of course brought a lot of innovation at the same time and integration. Yeah. So I remember for us then it was really key to ensure that we are integrating some of the services so that then you could try to maximize on whatever you have.
Okay. at this point in time, there were huge issues with doctors as well, striking and everything. How did that also affect this whole situation?
I would say for me, my experience was actually this is also the time when the public health aspect also gained momentum, because I think it also brought to fore the fact that we needed to ensure that we had community health systems that could ensure that people, would, live a healthier life, and if they needed to go to the medical facilities, then they already have had some structures that they could go through. So I would say there were a lot of attempts. You also had a lot of civil society organization that started also to push and doing a lot more at community level. Of course, we had all the religious health institutions also scaling up, and so, created a space for
like you said,
other
you had
players.
to be innovative and
Exactly.
creative at that time.
Yeah.
And I think religious institutions, NGOs, civil societies, they do play a very big role.
Absolutely.
And of course, helps quite a bit.
Yeah.
Now, you took up the leadership role in Nairobi as the Deputy Provincial Medical Officer and later as the Provincial Coordinator for the AIDS Control Program in Nairobi. Now, this was at a time when HIV/AIDS had hit the country really hard. What would you say were the challenges in communicating about this condition and the successes that the country achieved in preventing infections, getting affordable ARV regimes?
First, when I joined the National AIDS Control Council, actually I was in the pioneer group that formed the National AIDS Control Council, because that was the time when the Kenyan government declared HIV a national disaster. One of the biggest challenges, of course, was first of all to ensure that the coordination system was actually in place and was effective, to the extent that you have the medical side, but you also had civil society also doing HIV work. You had different ministries also trying to sensitize and to promote, and the National AIDS Control Council was formed then to try and bring all that together and to sort of have this framework. So that was one of the big challenges, to try and bring everyone under that umbrella. For example, the Ministry of Health felt that why should we be coordinating under the National AIDS Control Council, because we are the Ministry of Health and this is a health issue. But very clearly, I think from the beginning, the message that HIV/AIDS is not just a health issue. It's an issue that actually cuts across the different sectors, and therefore there was need to involve everyone. The second issue was really the stigma. Stigma in the country was very high at that time, and so that was again an impediment in trying to ensure that first of all people could come out openly and say that they were positive and needed support. The second issue was even when there were facilities or places where people could go, because of that stigma they would be afraid to actually seek services. So a lot of sensitization, awareness creation had to be done, and reaching out especially to community members and families as well. Even we had families that, of course, were shunning off their people.
So because the stigma attached to this whole situation, how difficult was it to get through to people, to make them understand what to do if they did contract the disease, the ARV regimes? How did you manage to get through to them?
I think through a concerted effort, like I said, especially then identifying community champions, including community leaders, sensitizing them and making them understand the importance of actually dealing with the issue. I think that made a big difference.
So they eventually did open up?
They did open up, and we have a lot of examples of how communities even mobilize themselves to ensure that they would take care of the people who were living with HIV.
Any example you can give us within that structure that really opened up and you would feel that was a real success at that point in time?
Yes, I will take Western Kenya as an example, where communities took this in their hands, because then they realized that they were losing people to the disease, and therefore they needed actually to ensure that apart from getting for example, the ARVs, or getting access to the medical facilities, what was even more critical was the home-based care. So there was quite a lot that was done where community members themselves volunteered to have their capacity built, to be taught on how to care for their own people, and that made a big difference. There was also the question of even how to support people living with HIV to be able to generate their own livelihoods. So bringing them together, forming groups and starting small businesses here and there, and I think that made a lot of difference for people.
Now, rejuvenating the Red Cross, how did you navigate this point at which the Red Cross had resource gaps, but the society was expected to deliver on its emergency response mandate?
Yeah. I think what was critical was to show the added value. I'll give you a good example. In 2020, when COVID hit our country, we all knew that we would have a very difficult time in trying to mobilize resources because the rest of the world also was experiencing the same, and every nation was trying to keep back the resources to take care of their own people. And therefore, because the Red Cross, especially Kenya Red Cross, gets its largest percentage of resources from other Red Cross societies globally. And at this time, you could imagine, Italy and other countries, the pressure was immense. But surprisingly, we actually raised more resources in 2020 than we did in 2019, despite the COVID pandemic. But I believe it's also because that, we were able to demonstrate that we could make a difference in this particular pandemic, because the Red Cross is structured in such a way that it works through community volunteers. And with COVID, as much as we tried to strengthen, of course, on the health side, the facility side, but what was critical about the spread of COVID was really, at community level, how people were preventing. Because the challenge we have sometimes, we say, is that we try to, treat those that have already been infected, but we forget that there are actually many more that have not been infected. So how do we ensure that we keep those ones away from these health facilities in the first place? Prevention. And that's where then the Red Cross, really, had the strength, because to date we are talking about 260,000 volunteers all over the country. And this is a big, pool of human resource that could go to any part of this country, including even in the northeastern parts where maybe insecurity could be a problem, or in the Rift Valley. So that was something that a lot of our partners saw value in, and therefore, despite having their own challenges back home, they were still able to contribute and make sure that the Red Cross was able to play its role.
Now, what is a legacy you will say will outlive you at the Kenya Red Cross Society, where you were Secretary General until July 2023?
Number one, the Red Cross has been a responder. The Red Cross has been known for being the one that goes out when there's an emergency and helps people, to the extent that our community got to this narrative of when you ask for something, wanasema mimi si Red Cross, because it's the Red Cross that's supposed to come and give and not. So for me, once I took over, it also coincided with the development of a new strategy, and the focus now has been to say that the Red Cross, of course, will continue with some of the response to emergencies, especially the large emergencies, but it has to be a facilitator of communities themselves. Because at the end of the day, even when we say we are the first responders as the Red Cross, the truth is it's the communities that are the first responders. When a disaster strikes, before everyone else comes, it is the community that tries to get itself out of that. So the focus on communities, building communities, giving them the knowledge, the skills, the capacity, and the resources to be able to anticipate, to mitigate, and to respond to these emergencies when they happen is really the one of the big pushes. So seeing ourselves as a facilitator and ensuring that we are there to support the communities, not to be the one to just respond, but together with communities working
Such
together.
An important point that you have raised.
Yes.
Yeah.
Number two,
because you are the facilitators.
Exactly.
And you will come eventually, but the communities have to be proactive.
Have to be proactive. And I'll give you a good example. In Nairobi, the Red Cross used to respond to almost 3 fire incidences in the informal settlements in a day. But with this kind of approach, we've been able to build capacity in some of these informal settlements, creating what we call the community-based disaster response teams, give them the skills, train them, give them capacity, and today they can manage a lot of some of the fires that happen there without even, the branch or the headquarter coming in. And this is really a good testament that communities can do things for themselves. They just need to be facilitated, they need to be given the resources, but they also need their capacity to be built. Number two for me is the issue of young people. The 260,000 volunteers that I talked about, 80% of them are young people. And therefore they're a huge human resource for this organization. But when we look at the country again, with more than 70% young people, the focus on young people was something that was really a priority for me. And today I'm happy to say that the current strategy has 3 pillars, one on disaster management, one on health, and the third one is on youth. That hasn't happened before. And I can see the energy, I can see the creativity of the young people in the organization. I can see, what they are able to do, and by extension, reaching out to other young people in the community. And then the last one, which I will definitely take with me and will always look back, is the question of women empowerment. Women in management, women in governance. Today, I think the Red Cross, especially like in management, we are, I left when we were almost at par, 47-50. So gender parity, you would say, but more importantly, just empowering women, maybe using my own background, believing that when you have more women in the leadership, you have more women on the decision-making tables, many good things will happen.
And a statement that you are an equal to men.
Yes. Not in whatever other aspects we would look at, but in just saying that we can do what men can do, sometimes even better, I would say.
I agree with you. And it's great. And an extreme honor for us that you were at the helm of such a prestigious and a great organization like the Red Cross. Now, you still support the community. You're from Kibra, right?
Yes.
The Nubian community. Tell us about the activities that you're involved in to uplift the status of the community through the Haiba Foundation.
So Haiba Foundation was formed, I would say now almost 17 years ago. And the push was really to say that, as professionals from the community, when we look back, we asked ourselves, what can we do for this community? We thought of, okay, we could give money, yes. And I have one of my late brothers, may his soul rest in peace, who really then pushed and said, let's look for a more lasting solution. So in the process of reflecting, we said the biggest issue for us in the Nubian community was the question of education. And I'm a living example of how it wasn't easy to actually get education to get to this level. So we formed Haiba Foundation. So Haiba Foundation is all about academic excellence, and it was about motivating the young people in Kibra to see education as a very important and critical part of their development and embracing it, so encouraging them. So what we started is we started with an annual award ceremony every year where we award our best students in class 8 and also in form 4 to give motivation and also to show the others that, if you do well, then you will be recognized. And it's a public event.
Extremely encouraging. That's very good.
Exactly. But more importantly, a mentorship and a coaching program where then many of us, have a group of young people that we mentor, but more importantly, out of the pool that we supported, we ended up with what is called the Nubian University Students Organization. So Nubian students came together, formed this organization, and what they do, for example, when they're on holidays, they actually go to the mosque and they do a tuition program for the young people to ensure that they also then can succeed. Thirdly, it's also about skills and life skills building. So we do a retreat once in a year where we bring young people, take them even out of Kibra, Kisumu, we've taken them to Ngong, take them to Mombasa, and just take them through what life entails and what are some of the issues that are critical for their success.
Very inspiring. Changing mindsets, breaking all barriers. Well done. Now, a word to those who would like to get into the world you join of medicine and emergency response. If they'd like to go into those fields, what would be your advice to them?
Number one, to just tell them that it is a noble profession. It is very fulfilling because there is nothing as satisfying as when you save a life. And so apart from what will come with it, whether it's the money you can make as a medical person, but more importantly, I think there is that gratification.
No value to it, right?
Yes. You can never actually even be paid equal for
Invaluable.
it, but invaluable. But secondly, as well, is just to say that you have to then be prepared to actually work very hard. It requires commitment. It's not easy. During my time, medical school was 5 years, dentistry was 4. Today, it's 6 years for the medical students. So it's a long time. So you need to be focused, you need to be committed for you to then to be able to really do it. But I think we still need, of course, many more people, especially in the emergency medicine sector, so to encourage as many young people out there as possible to actually venture in this space.
People are extremely dedicated.
Yes.
Okay. You received a lot of awards over the years. Any award that's close to your heart, special?
Yes, the one that is special, I would say, is from the Nubian community in East Africa. Every year we have a ceremony where the Nubian community in East Africa, because we're also found in Uganda, in Tanzania, and in South Sudan, comes together, of course, to celebrate the culture. We are very good at keeping our culture close, and then more importantly then awarding individuals from the community who have excelled, who have contributed in many ways. So I actually have gotten 2 from this. One was a community service award, and the other one last year was the Lifetime Achievement Award for all the work that I have been doing in the community. And I must say I'm very proud also because I'm the first woman to actually get that award. It has always been given to men.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
Congratulations. Well done, Dr. Asha Mohammed. You know, it's been great speaking to you, and thank you so much for being a guest on the Living Legends. You're an absolute legend.
Thank you so much.
Asante sana.
Thank you. God bless.
It's been an extreme pleasure speaking to Dr. Asha Mohammed, the former Secretary General of the Kenya Red Cross Society. She has given us insights into the world of relief and emergency agencies. Dr. Mohammed has also told us about the efforts put in by the government to manage the HIV and AIDS situation in the country over the last 30 years. She also gives back to the community through the Haiba Foundation. We thank Dr. Asha Mohammed for giving us her time for this episode. Thank you for watching. I am Fayyaz Qureishi.
Wale watu walikuja wakaanza kutupa meloni huko kwa barabara.
Vibanda zimevunjwa, magari zimechomwa. Duka zetu tutakuwa tunabeba tunaenda nazo kwa nyumba ama tutakuwa tunafanya nini?
Vijana wameuawa, mali imeharibika, wameharibu biashara ya watu, wameharibu mali ya umma. Mimi nimewaambia mambo ingine yote tunaweza kujadiliana, lakini we cannot negotiate about violence. Violence must stop.
Hapa ni Better One Second Hand Clothes. I'm the manager. Hapa tunafanya biashara ya kuuza bags, nguo, viatu.
Mimi mfanyi biashara
hapa Bicenta. Pia maandamano tuliibiwa baiskeli zote hapa.
Mimi ni mwanabiashara hapa Imara Daima. Wakati wa maandamano watu waliingia kwa duka yangu hapa wakabomoa dirisha unayoona hapa nyuma yangu, wakaingia na walichukua stock ya mali nyingi sana. Stock iko almost 600,000. Wakachukua TV, wakachukua kompyuta, wakachukua mpaka iko music system ilikuwa hapa pia walichukua.
Nafanyanga hii biashara ya kuhudumia wateja na uzanga nyama. Sasa hii mambo ya maandamano imekuwa tufanye biashara vizuri kwa sababu tunafunga kuanzia Wednesday. Ukiona mtu anafunga na kodi ya nyumba inaitishwa, sioni hiyo kama inaleta shangwe.
Hiyo siku nilipigiwa simu nikiwa kwa nyumba nikaambiwa duka imevunjwa na wameingia. Hata hivyo nilitumiwa ka video clip ya kuonyesha venye walikuwa wanaingia wakivunja, venye walikuwa nabeba vitu. Kwa kweli kibiashara imenirudisha nyuma kozi. Hata ukiangalia kuna vitu vimeharibiwa, kama dirisha zimevunjwa, kioo zimevunjwa. Ukiangalia pale CCTV zimevunjwa, zinahitajiwa kufanywa marekebisho. Hata staffs wengine walijeruhiwa.
Watu waliweza kukuja kutoka nje in big numbers, walikuwa wamekamp huko kwa pande ya barabara, kando ya barabara. Watu more than 500 people wenye waliweza kuja sasa wakati wa power and they had to get in the shop. Walikuwa wamejihami. Kuna wale walikuwa na silaha mbalimbali, kuna mallets kama wale walivuja makufuri. Kuna wale waliweza kuunga makufuri na mallets. Kuna wale walikuwa na mawe. Kama vile unaona mawe zimejaa kila mahali.
Hao watu ni kama walikuwa na nia ya kuja kuchukua hiyo nyama. Katoa nikaweka kwa fridge. Kuweka hivi ndio wakaanza kurusa mawe.
Wakaharibu vitunguu, nyanya na hiyo stoko yote nilikuwa nimemwaga hivi karibuni, hata siku mbili hazikuwa zimeisha.
Mimi siku hiyo sikufungua. Hata siku zote nikisikia kuna maandamano hatuwezi fungua. Sababu baiskeli ni target kubwa sana yao vijana. Sasa mimi nikiwa kwa nyumba, kulikuwa saa 1 usiku hivi. Maandamano ilishaisha huko side ya pipeline. Kumbe vijana wakapitia wakuja Jakaranda, wakaanza fujo na polisi. Wakakuja mpaka Bicenta na wakafanya uharibifu mkubwa sana. Na waliweza kubeba baiskeli zote. Hata saa hii bado hatujaweza kurudisha baiskeli. Kwa sababu hizo tulikuwa tumezichukua kwa loan, sasa tumeng'ang'ana tu kujaribu kulipia hiyo loan ndio tuweze kuweka stock nyingine.
Mimi ni mkazi wa Fort Jesus, nafanya biashara kwa hiyo area pia baada ya Fort Jesus. Na hii kinyozi yangu ilikuwa siku maandamano, hiyo siku sikufungua kazi. Nilipigiwa simu na jirani yangu mwenye pia anafanya kazi huku. Akiniambia kwamba banda yangu imevunjwa, vitu zimechukuliwa ndani na hao vijana walikuwa na protest hiyo siku ya on Wednesday. Nilikuja nikapata nyewe vitu zimechukuliwa zote, mashine za kunyoa, vioo zote zimechukuliwa, viti, like hakuna kitu yoyote yenye iko tu hapo yenye naweza sema anaweza jisaidia nayo, na ndio inanga kitu yangu kuniletea mapato.
Nakumbuka kuna tarehe maandamano ilikuwa Friday. Kila kitu tuliibiwa, unaibiwa hadi kijiko, hadi ugali. Nyama yote ikabebwa, mashini kama hii nini zikabebwa zote.
Kama kawaida venye tunasikia kuna maandamano, ilibidi tukafuga kazi tukaenda manyumbani. Lakini sasa ikifika wakati wa saa 11 hivi, nikapigiwa simu nikaambiwa duka imefujwa. Tulianza na 3.5 million. So na sasa tukiangalia tunaona ni kama walichukua kila kitu.
Hapa tulikuwa tunarauka kila asubuhi, jioni unaenda na chako nyumbani.
Nadhani wengi ni wezi, si maandamano wanafanya ni kuiba tu.
Baada hii maandamano sasa kurecover imekuwa ngumu. Iko staff nilikuwa nao wawili, itabidi ni lay off. Na hata pesa walichukua, kulikuwa na pesa kwa cashbox walichukua yote. Sasa mahali niko nimeshindwa vile nitaendelea.
Maandamano ni heri ishe. Kwa sisi wanabiashara inatu affect pakubwa.
Sasa wakubwa wetu hawajui vile grounds. Inapaswa watembee miguu kwanza waone vile hasara ilienda. Wache tu kusikia. Watembelee watu waone vile tulipata hasara sana ama tunapata hasara wakati wa maandamano.
Hapa Imara Daima haikuwa mimi peke yangu niliingiliwa. Kuna duka hapa opposite au pia waliingiliwa, vitu zikachukuliwa kwa duka. Au viongozi wanafaa wakae pamoja wasikizane shida iko wapi.
Hatuwezi kuwa ni nchi ya vita. Vita ikitokea biashara ya hawa mama inaharibika. Vita ikitokea watu wanapoteza maisha.
In the name of Jesus Christ, Mungu anatarajia ukanyange hatua mbele. Wengine wametawaliwa na uchawi, wakati wao umefika. Wewe umenitazama siku ya leo. Neema na kibali cha Bwana kikawe juu ya maisha yako.